Today we're going to learn about equilateral triangles and how to find the areas of them. So first we need to go back a little bit to think about properties of isosceles triangles, and because it's properties of isosceles, it'll also be properties of equilateral triangles. So if you remember, first of all, equilateral triangle, we know all sides are congruent, right? So whatever one side is, let's just make up a number, let's say 4. Okay, let's say 4 on each side. So equilateral triangles have 3 congruent sides. Okay, now if we think about the altitude, okay, to a base here. Okay, so what you need to remember, that altitude is also the angle bisector. It's also, so it's bisecting this angle up here. It's also the perpendicular bisector, so it cuts this side in half as well. Okay, now here's what's so cool. If this is an equilateral triangle, then all of these angles here are 60. This big angle up top is also 60 degrees, but because it's bisected, it's 30 degrees. So what makes it so special is now we actually have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, so that's why one of the reasons we were reviewing 30, 60, 90 triangles. So let's see how this works as far as finding area. All right, so let's go ahead and find the area of this equilateral triangle. So because it is a triangle, we still know area is equal to 1/2 base times height. Let me change the color there, make it a little easier to see. So area equals 1/2 base times height. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and draw my height in here. Okay, there's my height. Okay, so because this is equilateral, I know all side lengths have to be 4. Remember, the base there is being bisected by the altitude. So this is actually 2, and this part is actually 2. What we're going to focus on is this 30, 60, 90 triangle. All right, so keep in mind, this is 30, this is 60. Well, 30 and 60. Okay, so this 2 here is actually the short leg. The 4 is my hypotenuse, which makes sense, right? Because that is the whole side of the triangle, and then go from the hypotenuse to short leg, you would divide by 2. Okay, now to get the height, that's the long leg. That's the long leg, and I need to take the short leg times a radical 3. So this is going to be equivalent to 2 radical 3. That is, my height is 2 radical 3. The length of my base is this whole distance down here, is this entire distance. So my base is going to be 4. So find my area. I have 1/2. My base is the entire side length, which is 4. My height is 2 radical 3. Now, you're welcome to go ahead and type this into your calculator as is. Okay, I'm also going to just multiply it and simplify it first. So 1/2 of 4 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So it's 4 radical 3 square units. On our activities, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to go ahead and type that into my calculator, and I get 6.9. So 6.9 square units. Right, so the big challenge here is always finding the height, because we're given the base automatically because that's the side length. The height, we always have to work backwards and get from the 30, 60, 90 triangles. Let's try another one. All right, this time my side length is 10. So if I draw in my height, my altitude there, I know each of those little parts here are going to be 5. And then the height is going to be the short leg times radical 3. So it's going to be 5 radical 3. So my height is 5 radical 3. My base is 10. So we know area equals 1/2 base times height. So we have 1/2 times, my base was 10, my height is 5 radical 3. If I simplify that, half of 10 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25 radical 3 square units. If I'm interested in the decimal, I'm going to type it into my calculator, and you get 43.3. All right, so that was really nice because those 2 examples, the side length was an even number. In this example, our side length is going to be an odd number. Okay, so it's not quite as pretty, but still very manageable. All right, so again, we know area equals 1/2 base times height. All side lengths are 7. When I draw in my height, my altitude there, this is half of 7. Each of those parts is half of 7. You can write 3.5, but typically when you're using radicals, you use them with fractions instead of decimals. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it as 7 over 2, so 7 halves. So since my short leg here is 7 halves of my 30, 60, 90 triangle, that makes my long leg 7 radical 3 over 2. All right, so now my height was 7 radical 3 over 2. My base is 7. So my area is equal to 1/2. My base is 7. My height is 7 radical 3 over 2. All right, so you're welcome to type this into your calculator. If you want to see how it's simplified, really I just need to multiply everything that's in my numerator together. So in my numerator, I have a 1, a 7, and a 7 radical 3. So 1 times 7 is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. And then I have a radical 3. So I'd have 49 radical 3 in my numerator. In my denominator, I have 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, again, you could just type this right into your calculator. But be forewarned, when you go to type it into your calculator, when you do the radical 3, make sure you close your parentheses. A lot of times they'll start a parentheses for you with your radicals. So make sure you close that and then divide by 2. So you should have 21.2 square units. Okay, our last example here, we have a side length of 21. I'm going to draw in my altitude. I know since all side lengths are 21, this small half is going to be 21 halves. The other one's also 21 halves. Okay, that is my short leg. To get my long leg, I need to multiply it by a radical 3. So I have 21 radical 3 over 2 as my height. So 21 radical 3 over 2. And then my base is going to be the entire side, which is 21. So area equals 1/2 base times height. So we have 1/2. My entire base is 21. My height is 21 radical 3 over 2. Okay, again, if I want to simplify that, I'd have 1 times 21 times 21 times radical 3. So that would give me 441 radical 3. In my denominator, I have 2 times 2, which is 4. So this would be my simplified answer. If I want to go ahead and type that into my calculator, which is again what we're doing, then I would have 191 actually, the way it rounds, sorry, 191 square units.